5 dark psychology tricks that always work. Stoicism, modern Stoic. Dark psychology is often seen as a mysterious and complex field, but the reality is that its application is just as intricate. It's not only about using dark psychology or manipulation on others. Understanding its mechanisms is vital because, in everyday life, people frequently use these techniques to influence or manipulate you. As the great philosopher Epictetus once said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Understanding the psychology behind manipulation can empower you to protect your mind and soul from negative influences. However, it's essential to approach these tactics responsibly and with caution, as some of the methods discussed may cross ethical boundaries. The aim is not to exploit, but to be aware and guard yourself against manipulation that could harm your mental and emotional well-being. The first trick is social proof. Let's start with a real-life example from 2016 that perfectly illustrates the power of social proof. I went into a store with my mind set on buying a specific smartphone that I had already researched and decided on. However, when I got there, the phone I wanted was unavailable. The salesman, sensing my hesitation, showed me another phone and confidently told me, "This is the best phone available at the time. It's a bit outdated, but if you add a little more money, you can get this one instead." He even pulled the same phone out of his pocket, saying he used it himself. Without realizing it, I was suddenly convinced this was the phone for me. The mere act of him using it made the product feel more valuable, and I ended up buying it, even though it wasn't the best option available. This is the essence of social proof, and it's a trick often used in both everyday life and marketing. We're more likely to like something when we see others, especially experts or influential people, endorsing it. It works like magic when people we respect are using or recommending a product or idea. A popular example is when a celebrity promotes a brand of jeans, and suddenly everyone wants to wear them, not because they are inherently better, but because the celebrity's endorsement creates a sense of value and desirability. Marketing agencies take this even further by creating a fake social proof bubble. Ever watched glowing movie reviews and then felt compelled to see a film, only to find out it wasn't as great as it was made out to be? That's social proof at play. The same trick works with social media, where we observe what our friends, influencers, or celebrities are doing and feel a need to follow suit to fit in or gain approval. In Robert Cialdini's Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion, he highlights how we often look to others for guidance when we feel uncertain, especially in ambiguous situations. For instance, before meeting someone new, we might already have an image in our minds of what they'll be like, based on what we've heard from friends or seen on social media. It's a mental shortcut we all take. Even simple actions, like praising ourselves in front of friends to impress someone we like, are an example of using social proof to create a favourable impression. So, what does this mean for you? Understanding social proof gives you the power to influence situations and decisions around you, while also making you more aware of when it's being used to influence you. Whether you're trying to impress a potential partner or make a business decision, knowing how social proof works can help you navigate relationships and purchases with more insight and control. Let me ask you, have you ever found yourself swayed by something just because others were using or praising it? Maybe you've fallen for it in a marketing campaign or social setting. How can you use this knowledge to your advantage or protect yourself from being manipulated in the future? Share your thoughts below. I'd love to hear your experiences. The second trick is love bombing. The second dark psychology trick that you absolutely need to understand is love bombing. It's one of the most commonly used tactics in relationships, and unfortunately, it's also one of the most effective. Love bombing is a psychological manipulation trick, where an individual showers the target with excessive compliments, surprises, affection, and attention in an attempt to control the target's emotions, thoughts, and behaviors. While it's most commonly associated with romantic relationships, this tactic can be used in various settings: friendships, family relationships, school, work, and even on social media. The manipulator uses this tactic to create an emotional bond that feels intense and real, leading the target to believe that they found something truly special. Imagine for a moment that you're in a new relationship or friendship and everything feels perfect. The other person constantly praises you, listens intently to everything you say, and showers you with thoughtful gestures and attention. You might even feel as though you've found someone who truly understands you, someone who makes you feel special in ways you've never felt before. This feels wonderful, doesn't it? The compliments, the constant messages, the surprise gifts, it all seems like real love, right? But here's the trap. The manipulator is intentionally giving you exactly what you crave in order to gain control. They know that everyone wants validation, affection, and attention, and they use that desire to bind you emotionally. This initial phase of excessive love and affection is designed to make you feel emotionally reliant on them, creating an intense bond that makes you believe they are the one person who truly sees you for who you are. Now, what happens once they've got you hooked? Once they've made you believe that you're the most important person in their world? They begin to pull back. Slowly but surely, the affection and attention that were once abundant start to fade. The texts become less frequent. The compliments turn into vague statements, and the kindness becomes more transactional. But here's the real kicker. The emotional bond that's been established makes you crave that attention, crave that affection, and suddenly you find yourself chasing after them, trying to get back to the place where they made you feel special. You're emotionally dependent on their approval, and that's exactly what the manipulator wants. They now have control. The power of love bombing lies in its ability to manipulate your emotions, forcing you into a cycle of emotional highs and lows. The sudden withdrawal of affection creates insecurity, and you'll do whatever it takes to regain that emotional security. In many cases, the manipulator knows that if they make you feel loved and needed, you'll start doing things to keep the relationship going, things that you might not have agreed to or even considered before. This is when love bombing turns into emotional manipulation. You start to sacrifice your own needs, desires, and even boundaries just to maintain the connection. They push your limits, and you allow it because you fear losing the bond you thought was real. But there's something you need to understand. Real love does not operate like this. Genuine love is not about overwhelming someone with affection and then pulling it away to create dependency. True love is built on mutual respect, trust, and understanding. It isn't about emotional games. It's about steady, reliable care and emotional support. The manipulation that love bombing introduces into the relationship is toxic because it creates a false sense of intimacy and emotional security. Instead of building the relationship on mutual respect, it is built on control and insecurity. You might find yourself wondering, why would someone use love bombing on me? How do I know if I'm being manipulated? The truth is, the manipulator often does this because they are seeking control. They might do it out of a desire for power, or perhaps they don't even fully understand the impact they're having on you. They might believe that their version of love is the best, and they think it's acceptable to use manipulation to achieve the closeness they desire. But here's the thing. You don't have to let anyone control your emotions. You don't have to accept love that comes with strings attached. You deserve authentic connections where both parties are emotionally healthy, where trust is built over time, and where you are not playing emotional games to earn affection. You should be aware of the signs of love bombing so that you can protect yourself from becoming a victim. Recognizing the manipulation before it's too late is crucial. If someone is overwhelming you with affection only to pull it away when they feel you're hooked, that's a clear sign that you need to take a step back and reevaluate the relationship. But how do you protect yourself from love bombing? First, learn to recognize it. Trust your instincts. If something feels off or too good to be true, it probably is. If someone is rushing things, showering you with affection too quickly, or making promises that seem unrealistic, take a moment to pause. Real love takes time to develop. It's not about immediate intensity. It's about gradual, consistent care and connection. It's also essential to establish boundaries and make sure they're respected. Healthy relationships involve mutual respect, where both parties are equally invested in building something meaningful. Take a step back from the whirlwind, evaluate the relationship for what it truly is, and ask yourself if you feel in control of your emotions, or if you're constantly chasing someone else's approval. If you're constantly trying to gain someone's affection and struggling to keep up with their emotional shifts, it's a clear sign that the dynamic may not be healthy. Be courageous enough to set boundaries and protect your emotional well-being. You are worth more than someone's manipulation. True love doesn't manipulate. It supports, nurtures, and grows with you. Let me ask you this. Have you ever experienced someone pulling back after a period of intense affection, leaving you feeling insecure and unsure of where you stand? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to learn more about how to recognize and protect yourself from dark psychological tactics like love bombing. Together, we can build stronger, healthier connections and take control of our emotional lives. The third trick is reason persuasion. Dark psychology often takes advantage of the deceptively simple yet powerful tool of reason persuasion. This psychological trick plays on our innate ability to think logically and rationally, convincing us that something is a reasonable course of action, even when it is not in our best interest. Manipulators are highly adept at crafting logical, seemingly sensible arguments that sway their targets into doing what they want. The power of reason persuasion lies in its subtlety. It uses what we already consider as rationality to control us. Consider a simple scenario. Two homeless individuals approach you for help. One simply asks for money, while the other explains, "I've been hungry since yesterday and haven't had a bite to eat. Could you spare some change so I can buy some food?" Which one are you more likely to help? Most people, naturally, are more inclined to help the second person. Why? Because they've provided you with a reason for their request. They've painted a picture of a dire situation, hunger, and provided a logical reason for why they need the money. This simple act of framing their request in a way that makes logical sense triggers your empathy. In your mind, it becomes easier to justify the action because it feels like the right thing to do. The first person simply asking for money doesn't provide the same logical reasoning, and so it's easier to dismiss their request. But now, let's extend this idea to a much darker and more dangerous application of reason persuasion. A criminal mastermind, looking to orchestrate a bank robbery, might approach someone who is desperate, perhaps someone who is poor, unemployed, or struggling with financial issues. They don't just tell this person, "Help me rob a bank." Instead, they use reason to build a narrative that convinces the individual that their plan makes perfect sense. They will explain how the robbery could solve all of the target's financial problems, paint a picture of how they won't get caught, and emphasize the ease of the plan. They will make it sound like a reasonable, even necessary decision. The manipulator might even present themselves as the source of all knowledge, emphasizing their expertise in avoiding detection, and make the target believe that they are simply taking advantage of an opportunity that would otherwise pass them by. This use of reason is incredibly powerful. The target, feeling desperate or powerless, might find it difficult to resist. The reasoning is so sound, so plausible, that it overpowers any moral hesitations or warnings they may have. It's not about using force or aggression. It's about planting a seed of logic that grows into full-blown manipulation. Over time, this reasoned explanation makes the plan seem not just acceptable, but necessary. The person who would never have dreamed of committing such an act might, under the sway of reason persuasion, become an unwitting accomplice to a serious crime. In fact, many crimes are rooted in this very form of manipulation. Behind every crime that involves a willing participant, there is often a story of persuasion, where logic, fear, and a sense of necessity collide to turn an ordinary person into a criminal. This is the danger of reason persuasion. It can be so convincing that we fail to see the manipulation behind it. It lures us in with its appeal to logic, and before we realize it, we are making decisions that we never thought we would. It's crucial to understand how powerful this tactic is, because it doesn't just apply to extreme cases like criminal activity, it can be used in everyday situations as well. whether it's convincing someone to buy something they don't need, to make a decision that isn't in their best interest, or to go along with a plan that might be morally or ethically wrong. Reason persuasion works by making the manipulator's desires seem like reasonable outcomes. So, how can you protect yourself from this kind of manipulation? First, always be aware of the reasons being presented to you. Take a step back and ask yourself, is this really the best course of action, or is someone trying to manipulate me into thinking it is? Don't be afraid to question the logic behind a suggestion, especially if it feels too perfectly aligned with your own desires or weaknesses. And most importantly, recognize that reason, though powerful, is not always right. Just because something makes logical sense doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. In fact, the most dangerous manipulations often come clothed in the most logical arguments. So, next time you're faced with a decision that seems too easy or too perfectly rational, take a moment to dig deeper. Look beyond the surface and ask yourself, who benefits from this decision? And is that person really on my side? By understanding how reason persuasion works, you can protect yourself from being manipulated and ensure that your decisions are made based on your own values, not someone else's agenda. The fourth trick is self-abasement. The fourth trick in dark psychology is self-abasement, a tactic where, rather than forcing your point through strength or insults, you humble yourself to gain the other person's trust or influence their decisions. This technique relies on vulnerability, where a manipulator lowers their own status to create emotional leverage. Instead of acting dominant, manipulators will go in the opposite direction, using humility or self-criticism as a tool for persuasion. By doing so, they provoke an emotional response in the person they are trying to manipulate, one that can lead to sympathy or even admiration. In some cases, they might admit faults or flaws that aren't genuine, presenting themselves as the victim or someone who is undeserving of the other person's anger or disdain. Self-abasement has deep roots in psychology, especially in its relationship with reverse psychology. The concept is simple. When someone tells you to do something, you might instinctively feel the urge to do the opposite. But in the case of self-abasement, this dynamic is manipulated in a more subtle, emotionally driven way. For example, imagine your partner is angry with you and nothing you say seems to change their perspective. Your usual persuasion techniques, reasoning or arguing, fail because their emotions have taken over. In this moment, self-abasement becomes a powerful tool. Instead of defending yourself or trying to fix the situation through logic, you might say something like, "I'm so bad at relationships. I always mess things up. No one could possibly love someone like me." By diminishing yourself, you're reversing the situation. You're no longer the one in the wrong, but instead the one who needs comforting or validation. This technique is especially prevalent in relationships, where it can be used to shift the power dynamic. It's often seen in romantic dynamics, where one person, usually with intent, presents themselves as completely imperfect or undeserving of love, triggering a sense of care or empathy from the other person. Women, for instance, may engage in self-abasement by making a small mistake and exaggerating it, in the hopes of receiving excessive praise or attention for the tiniest of wrongdoings. This doesn't only happen in romantic relationships, though. It can be used in any context where emotional dynamics are at play. Self-abasement plays on a universal truth of human nature. People are often drawn to others who appear vulnerable. By presenting yourself as vulnerable or weak, you put others in a position where their natural instinct is to offer reassurance or love, thus creating an environment where the manipulator gains emotional control. In real life, this trick is not always obvious. Self-abasement can be disguised as an innocent act of humility, but when you understand how the tactic works, it becomes easier to recognize. For example, a friend or colleague who constantly downplays their own achievements may be seeking validation, and when they get the praise they want, they leverage that emotional reaction to achieve their own goals. It's not necessarily about manipulating in a malicious way, but rather about understanding how emotions influence behavior and using that knowledge to influence outcomes. It's important to acknowledge that while this tactic can be effective, it's also a form of emotional manipulation that can lead to unhealthy relationship dynamics. Relationships thrive on mutual respect, genuine vulnerability, and honesty, not on constant emotional games or strategies. In fact, the Stoic philosophy teaches us to focus on developing internal strength rather than relying on external validation. As the philosopher Epictetus said, "It is not things that disturb us, but our opinions about things." True power comes not from manipulating the emotions of others, but from mastering our own. The fifth trick is going slightly wrong. Dark psychology is a powerful tool, and the fifth trick you need to master is the subtle art of going slightly wrong. This psychological manipulation strategy is one that top manipulators have perfected because it flies under the radar, going unnoticed, but always yielding results. The trick is simple, yet incredibly effective. By intentionally providing a bit of incorrect information with full confidence, you spark the target's need to correct you. In turn, they reveal more than you intended to know. This tactic is brilliantly simple. Take the example of a neighbour's aunt who, out of curiosity, uses this technique to extract information about her neighbour's child's exam results. She casually asks about the child's performance, perhaps mentioning, "I heard David topped the class," which, in reality, may not be true. But the neighbour, eager to correct this misinformation, might reveal more than just the truth, like details about David's performance compared to last time. This seemingly innocent inquiry leads to a deeper dive, and the aunt gathers not only the correct answer, but also additional insights that weren't meant to be shared. The beauty of this strategy lies in its subtlety. It's about creating a safe space for the target to engage, correcting you without realizing the exchange is one-sided. When done properly, this manipulation trick feels natural and easy, giving you the information you seek without confrontation. But there's a catch. You must be cautious. This technique only works if the other party doesn't recognize it as a manipulation tactic. If they've seen this video, your plan might backfire. So how do you execute this successfully? Start the conversation by asking innocent, seemingly harmless questions that don't raise suspicion. A slight misstep in your information prompts them to correct you, leading them to provide you with more valuable details. Manipulation, when applied with finesse, can unlock hidden truths, but it's essential to approach it with awareness and confidence. The more naturally you incorporate these psychological tricks into your interactions, the more power you'll hold over the conversation. And remember, confidence is key. Manipulators use these tactics because they know people are driven to correct information that doesn't sit right with them. As you master this trick, keep in mind that it is not just about extracting information. It's about controlling the flow of conversation and steering it in your favor. This isn't just some mind game. It's a skill set that, when applied ethically, can be used for both personal and professional gain. In fact, a famous quote by Sun Tzu comes to mind: "All warfare is based on deception." In your case, you're not waging war, but you're navigating the battlefield of social interactions with the precision of a strategist. Use this power wisely. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever used a form of psychological manipulation in your daily life, even unintentionally? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. And if you found this strategy intriguing, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on more insights into dark psychology and its practical applications in your life. This technique isn't just a psychological hack, it's a step towards mastering human behavior. Whether you're negotiating, socializing, or simply navigating the complexities of daily interactions, understanding how to manipulate the flow of conversation can give you a significant edge. So the next time you're in a discussion, remember, going slightly wrong could just be the key to unlocking the deeper layers of truth. These were some dark psychology tricks that you can easily use, and knowing them can save you from becoming a victim of these tricks. In addition to the discussed techniques, the realm of dark psychology is vast and intriguing, delving into various methods that shape human behavior and decision-making, from subtle manipulations in everyday conversations to sophisticated psychological maneuvers. Understanding these strategies can provide a unique insight into human interactions. Furthermore, exploring gaslighting, mind games, emotional manipulation, and other psychological tactics opens up a world of knowledge on how individuals navigate through social dynamics. By recognizing these techniques, one not only safeguards oneself from falling prey to manipulative behaviors, but also gains a deeper understanding of human psychology and communication. If you found this video insightful and engaging, feel free to like, comment, and share your thoughts. Let me know if you'd like to delve deeper into specific aspects of dark psychology or explore other intriguing psychological topics. Don't forget to subscribe for more fascinating and informative content from the psychology classes. See you in the next video.